Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. I regret to inform you all that it would seem the Model 3 now has a superior competitor. Better in every way, at least according to the Tesla bears as they rejoice. I'm of course talking about this new Mercedes CLA. It is a new Mercedes, but it is being named the CLA, which is actually already an existing Mercedes. The CLA and the CLS weren't particularly nice designs in the first place, but this would likely be more a competitor to the BMW i4, a car that did eventually make it into production, although it ended up looking just like a typical BMW rather than the initial concept. And I think it would be beyond safe to assume that the same will be true for this Mercedes. If it goes into production, which it may very well, then it will look nothing like this, and will likely not contain many of the features shown here either. This vehicle is just an advertisement to showcase how cool the vehicle can be and how creative and innovative Mercedes are. However, this is a concept and thus not having to be built at mass scale. This is the big difference. In order for cars to actually be affordable, they need to be built by robots. The more complex a design, the more human intervention is required, i.e. fewer robots and higher price tags. This is why the likes of Ferraris or Rolls-Royces are hand-built. It means they actually can make these cars look amazing, but with a price tag to match. One thing about Tesla is you'll often hear me praise their manufacturing skills and that Tesla make great looking cars, but in high volume production. This is often overlooked or not even understood by many. For me, this is one of the most tangible elements of Tesla's valuation. The fact they've proven again and again that they excel in manufacturing. Well, manufacturing EVs, we still have yet to see if they can make battery cells to the same level. But we would hope that with the manufacturing prowess they have, they will be able to excel at that, which is something I very much look forward to seeing. But Mercedes make some of the best quality cars in the world, so they can probably do a better job than Tesla, right? Well, Volkswagen make a lot more cars than Mercedes, and a Model Y in Shanghai is coming off the line about 5 times faster than any electric Volkswagen. The speed of Tesla's production lines is highly impressive, and this is with them still using most of the designs from manufacturing from 2017. We still look forward to seeing what billions and billions of dollars and years in R&D with some of the best manufacturing and engineering minds on the planet when Tesla starts Gen 3 manufacturing. Parallel production lines. I'm not entirely sure how many actually have even grasped this concept. It looks like it all makes sense, almost like Lego. Tesla managed to achieve the front and rear castings with structural battery pack, albeit limited by the structural cells. But hopefully with Gen 3, they're not limited, as they can use any cell apparently. Anyway, back to this Model 3 killer. It's capable of 466 miles of range. That's WLTP, which is about 415 miles EPA. That's a lot of range, don't get me wrong. Very impressive. But how is it achieved is far more important. Along with Tesla's manufacturing, another core advantage Tesla has over the competition is the drivetrain. Tesla make incredibly efficient drivetrains. If you don't understand what I mean, then essentially Tesla would get more range than anyone else with the same size battery. Okay, perhaps Lucid might if you want to be pedantic, but look at the cost of a Lucid drivetrain when compared. Tesla don't stop there with efficiency either, as the entire vehicle is designed to be as lightweight as possible, with as best drag coefficient as possible, all embodied to offer the most range possible on as small a battery as possible, or as low cost a drivetrain so it can compete in the mass market. Now, if Mercedes are offering this much range, then it would likely be a 100 kilowatt-hour battery, which is huge for a mid-size sedan. That much additional battery will add to the weight, thus affecting handling, braking, and performance, not to mention the additional cost. But Mercedes are achieving this with an anode designed with silicon oxide, or in other words, similar to what Tesla have been doing with the 2170 cells for about the last 5 years. And Mercedes will also be offering an LFP version. I normally wouldn't talk about such a non-event vehicle, but the bears were all over this, actually believing that this is the end of Tesla's Model 3. The big boys are finally here. This pleases me. It means that if this makes them happy, then it shows just how little these bears know about Tesla or EVs, and reduces any credibility the bears have on Tesla and the negative things they say. It also shows the psychology and that they are not being objective, yet instead acting for confirmation bias and creating echo chambers to validate this. Oh, and this is a Model 3 competitor, then it would also need to be in the same ballpark for price as the Model 3, perhaps $50,000 in the US starting price, as it could be argued that Mercedes is a more prestigious brand with more luxury, which is fair enough, but then already it's not therefore competing with the Model 3, so it would actually need to be much closer in price. However, I bet that Mercedes couldn't even make this car for $50,000, let alone sell it for less than that. In fact, I bet it'd be closer to $70,000, which is why, when it's released, the production will only be around 30,000 units a year. Well, aside from losing too much money on each sale, it would be too hard for them to manufacture that many, as they can't hit volume production, as it's near impossible, unless you're Tesla. Oh, and this car is more likely to cost about $70,000, or about twice the price of a Model 3. Then it won't come with many of the standard options like cooling seats, or screen in the back, but the Mercedes does have a huge screen as the dash, which is total overkill and likely an optional extra that costs at least an additional $5,000, but it makes it look so much more futuristic. I mean, look at the interior. It looks so futuristic, except extremely sterile. In fact, it gives the feeling of a medical refrigerator from the future. The Model 3 looks futuristic, but I feel comfortable in there, and I'm not some ingredient in storage for a scientific experiment. And the seating, they look like they would cost an absolute fortune to make, and obviously will be typical seats when in production anyway. This is just an advert for Mercedes to say, look, we can also do better than Tesla. Legacy like to give the illusion their electric cars are more electric by showing more lights and screens, as they are powered by electricity. But what matters is more range per kilowatt hour of battery. Tesla's screen is perfect. I do not need a bigger screen or one that goes across the whole dash. Which brings us up to the other competitive advantage Tesla has with their EVs, the technology. Now, although Tesla really is a car company, it does invest heavily into technology as well, and was a literal Silicon Valley startup. The majority of the R&D spend goes into FSD, and we've all seen the FSD presentations of just how painful it would be to work in that department, in solving what is required to make a car a self-driving robot. It does not look like a fun job. Now, do we really think that the Germans are going to have beaten Silicon Valley on technology? Alright, Mercedes are making it a big deal that they're using the Nvidia chip, even highlighting it as if it's the brain of the car, which seems quite gimmicky and not classy. And Tesla's Hardware 4 would destroy it hands down anyway. The Mercedes is level 2 autonomy, but retrofitted to become level 3. Well, all Teslas are upgradable to level 5 once the software is solved. But when this car finally goes into production, it's probably going to be at 2025. Well, imagine what Tesla is doing with a Gen 3 vehicle by that stage, and just how much further ahead it is. Anyway, I in no way think that Tesla is threatened by this new Mercedes, even if it goes into production. My main point of this was really to feel better that the bears or Tesla Q crowd understand the industry this badly and are only acting on confirmation bias. It discredits a lot of their other ideas too. Don't get me wrong, I think the Tesla hyperballs are far too bullish as well, as somewhat delusional when it comes to some things, and also reinforcing confirmation bias in an echo chamber too. Basically, anything that happens with Tesla or Elon, the bulls see as good news. Even when the opposite happens again, or contrarian things happen to what they've said in the past, it's always good news. And then the bears are the same too. Everything is always bad news. For example, the bulls say Tesla don't need to advertise, they sell every car they make. But if Elon did say we're going to start advertising on TV now, then the same bulls would praise him for it and say it's absolutely genius move. Elon is playing 4D chess. No one expected this to happen, etc. Well, in my experience, Elon playing 4D chess is another way to say Elon got something wrong. And it's okay if he does, but too many people look up to him like he's a god who can do no wrong, and he has perfectly planned out the future and thought about every single step along the way. Well, we know that's not the case. EVs are a very new industry, and there's still a lot to still be worked out in order for it to become more mainstream. And Elon is not always sure how it can be achieved, but will work hard to solve it, even if it means taking a different path from originally planned. I feel like I have worked very hard into trying to actually work out what is good and what is bad, and focus on being as objective as possible. The other positive to this new Mercedes is the fact that Mercedes are further increasing their badge of approval for an EV future. A brand prestigious and credible as the oldest car company in the world is good to see for the future validation of EVs, and we'll just end up discovering how much better value Teslas are than Benz. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.